My home is the Flathead Reservation in Montana. Today, we are honored to have a guest, our colleague, Mona Polacca, who is Havasupai, Tewa, Tiwa, and Hopi. She is an elder from Arizona. She has held posts of responsibility within her own community, such as treasurer for her tribe, the Colorado River Indian tribes. She holds a Master of Social Work and a PhD in Justice Studies with an emphasis on Indigenous peoples' human rights, both from Arizona State University. She travels Mother Earth, representing the Indigenous Environmental Network, IEN, as the Indigenous Water Ethics Coordinator and Indigenous people at international forums like the World Water Forum, the United Nations Permanent Forum on Indigenous Issues, and other UN venues, speaking on topics of human rights, climate change, protection of lands and waters, and Earth's biodiversity. She is a member of the Notre Dame Law School Religious Liberties Initiative Advisory Board. She works with Indigenous women to preserve and protect Indigenous practices and ceremonies, including the right to use their earth-based medicines. So today we're going to talk about the book that Mona is featured in, which is called Indigenous Waterviews. So Mona, we're honored to have you here. We just wanted to ask a few questions. The first one being, how did you get into water work? What drew you to the water work?
Thank you. I'm glad to be here. Yes, well, it's my life. It's my life, and I come from, on my mother's side, I come from the Havasupai, who are the people of the blue-green water, who live down at the bottom of the Grand Canyon. And all my life, as I was growing up, I was told that I come from the water, that the water is very sacred, and that I have a responsibility to take good care of it, and also to keep it in a good order, keep it clean, don't do things to it that would possibly harm it, because what happens to our water happens to us. And so I also come from the Hopi people, who are up in northern Arizona and like high desert land. And those people there, they don't have any rivers, lakes, or streams. They do have springs and an aquifer, but there's no surface water. And the Colorado River flows near it, but not within that land there. And so what the Hopi people rely on is they do what's called dry farming, which has been their subsistence way of living from time immemorial. And so the way that they get their water is through their ceremonies, their prayers, offerings, the dances that they do, as well as, of course, the number one thing is having faith and belief in those prayers. And so they have these seasonal kinds of ceremonies where they're creating that life cycle of the seed that's planted. And so they do these ceremonies, so the rains come, and they that's how they water their gardens, and they receive the crop. So when they receive their crop and harvest, then they have another ceremony, more offerings and thanksgiving. So my just my life ways, or my cultural and spiritual upbringing has always been centered around the water. And I was also told that even when you come upon a small puddle, like a puddle of water, maybe after it rains, and out there we have what's called sandstone. So sometimes there's these little, they look like little bowls in the rocks. And so the water, when it rains, the water sits in there. And I was told, when you come upon water like that, you pay it respect.
Yes.
And so, I get down on my knees and I put my hands, my fingerprints in the water, touch it to acknowledge it, let it know I'm there and I'm giving thanks. And then I was told that when you do that, then you take the water and you sprinkle it in the direction of home, Hopi land.
Yeah.
Sprinkle it in that direction so that the rains will come. Send rain that way. So those are the foundation of my my teachings that put me on this path. And I also was born and raised on the Colorado River, which is in Arizona on the western border. That's where I was born and raised, in a place called Parker, Arizona. And the tribe is called the Colorado River Indian Tribe. And so that's where I'm a citizen of the tribe. And so I grew up there along the Colorado River. And even in that upbringing, we were always, during the summer, always at the river.
Yeah.
Always there, always at the river. But also always, I was told about the struggles that my tribe was going through to maintain their water rights. And so when I was in my teen years, I was part of a group of youth, like a youth council, a youth. It was a young women's group, and they called us tribal ambassadors. We were for the ambassadors for the tribe, so we had to learn about our reservation.
Yeah.
And so we had to know how, about the river, and also about how we have certain rights as tribal people that are very important for our continued existence and continued survival. To maintain our relationship with the river, to maintain our rights to the river. And so I was involved in, I had to learn all that when I was in high school and part of this ambassadors group, and then becoming as well as having a chance to go to sometimes the hearings that had to do with our tribal water rights. So that, me learning about that, knowing those things, it just kind of ingrained in me this really strong commitment, I guess, to pay attention to what's happening. And as a matter of fact, one of my Hopi elders told me, he said, you have to know where your water is. Where does your water come from? It comes into your house, out of in your sink, But really, where does that water come from? You have to know your water. You have to know what's happening to it. You have to know if somebody's making plans about it and possibly diverting it away from you. You have to know what's happening upriver, because those upriver people, they sometimes don't remember there's people who are downriver who also depend on the river water.
That's so true.
So, so another thing I learned was that whenever there's someone who has a plan or coming with a proposal to do something on our land or around our land, on or near our tribal boundaries. We have to know, and one of those are the key questions. One of the key questions we ask them is, where is the water going to come from?
Yeah. Yeah.
How are you going to provide the water for this project you want to work on, have? And is it under the influence of the river, or is it under the influence of the aquifer?
Right.
We have to know that.
Yeah.
And so, so those kind of things, I grew up, you know, being exposed to it, and being encouraged to speak up for it.
Yeah.
And that was something that came from my mother. You have to speak up. You know, speak up for it. Speak up for that. You know, these things that give us our life, our land, our water, our air. You know, keep our foods, the things we depend on.
Yeah.
And a lot of people think that just because we live in this modern society, that they think we just go ahead and go to the store and get our food.
Yeah.
But that's not true. Many of the indigenous people continuously have been self-sustaining in their foodways. And the water has, you know, a lot to do with what you get.
It does.
You know, when you have your gardens and, you know, or your little farms. And there's tribes that also have their, you know, they have farms in their tribal communities. And growing their traditional crops. It's still there. It's still, you know, it's not something that's in the past, you know. It's not something that, you know, is an ancient, bygone practice. It's our way of life still today.
Yeah.
You know, living off the land, not only our gardens, but also, you know, the wild, going out and picking the wild plants and herbs and, you know, things like that. I remember when I was a little girl going out, my mom would give me this little bucket, and me and my little sister, we'd go out with it and go pick wild spinach.
Oh, wow.
You know, so those kind of things are, to me, so valuable, and it's important for us to continue to keep them alive.
Yes.
And continue to make it part of our everyday life.
Yeah, I agree. And I think the work that you're doing is extremely important. I really liked what you said about what happens to the water happens to the body, because unfortunately we're in a time where we're looking at a pending water crisis. But it's a self-created water crisis. It's not that we don't have enough water. It's that, unfortunate, corporate interests are taking more of a priority than our animals and our plant life. So what I'd like to do is, like, I think that the book that you wrote, or that you're part of, Indigenous Waterviews, I feel like this collaboration is a very good and powerful testament of how important water is, and the ways that people are taking action to promote the protection of water, and to also promote our relationship with water. You know, I think we're 80%, 80 or 75% water, and yet we see so much devastation happening to our waterways. And of course, coming from Arizona, I did some graduate school work there, and water is a huge topic there. And the fact that the Colorado River was diverted, and you're right, the water is going to different cities like Los Angeles, the Colorado River, you know, you know this really well. And when I came in and I found a lot of this history, what was the most disturbing to me is that water is part of Southwest Indigenous spirituality, and yet that's often overlooked, that it's not just something that we use for our body to wash, it's not just something that we use to drink, it's not something we just use for our plants, but like you, the example that you gave about, a pool of water, on a rock bowl, and just being able to give that blessing, and how instinctive it is, that you're in touch with the spirituality of the water. And that is one of the ways that Indigenous people have been taught, is that we give thanks with water. And water is also part of many Indigenous ceremonies. We always honor the fact that we are part of water, but water is part of us, and we have a responsibility. And so what I really liked about Indigenous Waterviews is the difference in the writings, and I thought that was one of the most creative aspects. I feel like we have to be creative in our ways of getting our messages out, and I think that sometimes we maybe overload people with information. And so what I really enjoyed about the book is how different it is. And this is the book, and it's an anthropology of story, song, and protocol for water ethics. It is by Indigenous Environmental Network and another group. Is it Iramu? It's right here on the back.
Siwaru Mayu.
Well, thank you for saying that. I'm not sure if I could. Mona, is it possible for you to read something from your book?
I didn't bring my
Okay.
readers.
Well, how about I read something for you?
Okay.
Okay.
Can I say something?
Yes, please do.
Okay, so this is a anthology of poetry, songs, and stories by Indigenous people from all over the world. And this is the second book. We did a book over 10 years ago called Indigenous Messages for Water. And so it was 10 years past, and I wanted to do a reprint because we know they were out of print.
Yes.
So I wanted to do a reprint, and had a meeting with some of the people that helped me with the
Yes,
first
I love
book.
that.
And so they said, let's just do a new book. And so that's how this book was born, was to have a new book, and it was all voluntary contributions by the writers, by the artists. There's artwork. The artist, we had an artist who donated his artwork for the cover, and it's everything in here was all voluntarily donated to be in the book. And part of our give back to them, of course, having them be featured in a book like this was something that they really wanted to be part of and get the exposure as well. And that's part of the work of doing the Indigenous Water Ethics, is to give voice to, our people, our Indigenous people, that otherwise don't have any exposure. They don't have the opportunity to come to the permanent forum or other places. But through this book, their voices are heard. In the book, there are QR codes. And if you take a picture of the QR code, it takes you to a link where you'll be able to hear the song, or see the dance, the people dancing to a song, or even possibly the scenery of the location of where the story or the song comes from. So I'm very proud of it and really appreciate everyone who contributed to it. Even the editors that did the translations, everything was all voluntary.
I think that when I was reading the book, I think that one of the most, frightening things that stood out to me is that we're reminded that water as a commodity is causing and continuing conflicts within this neo-colonial framework. And I liked how that was phrased, because it's not a water scarcity issue, it's a greed issue. And I think that this book is a good roadmap of creativity, but also like extremely good information that is able to be digestible. I think that in a lot of these forums, it gets really difficult to process and understand a lot of the information that is given to us. And with this book, I was able to have a good grasp of a lot of the issues that the global Indigenous community are facing. Because what I like about this is an international book. This isn't just a book based in the United States. It has translations from other Indigenous languages and people from around the world. And I think having that global Indigenous unity is so important, especially on the topics of water. And when you go to the United Nations Water Forum, I'm sure that you meet a lot of other Indigenous people that have ideas and strategies about ways that we can honor our water. So I was really appreciative of your time, and I just feel like come and get a copy of this book. You can order it off of our website, Indigenous Environmental Network.org, and Mona is also available. Their email is on our website as well. If you would like to contact Mona Polacca directly, it's mona@ienearth.org. And I am really grateful for this time. I'm grateful for Cultural Survival, for the staff that films us, and once again, I'm grateful for our guest, Mona Polacca. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yay.